Welcome to another episode of 90s Classics. I'm Tim.
And I'm Andrew.
And this week we have gone back and watched Volcano, 1997, Tommy Lee Jones and Anne Heche. As I mentioned on the last occasion, this is a movie that I remembered being an undiscovered masterpiece, criminally underrated by everyone, including Andrew, although we established we weren't actually sure if he'd seen it or not. So I am now very intrigued to hear what you thought of it.
It was garbage.
Wow.
It was the worst movie that we have watched so far in the 90s Classics. I had not seen it, so I was watching it for the first time.
Okay.
So this is maybe an impact on...
I wish I could go back and watch it for the first time.
In the absence of those nostalgia strings, I was able to rate it in a clear-eyed fashion, and it doesn't make for good reading. But you do tell me what you thought.
I do agree with you in the sense that I think it is the worst of the movies that we've reviewed, but I still thought it was really good. Pretty much for the reasons that I thought at the time. I'll go into them in a moment, but tell me what was wrong with it. What is it that I'm missing about Volcano that seemingly the rest of the world seems to see that I don't?
I just need to check how long we've got here, because this could be a couple of hours on this session. Where to begin? Looked really poor.
Oh.
It was made in the late 90s, but whereas a lot of the other movies we've watched have held up really well visually, I thought this looked aged. It's like they were short of money on set and they used a bunch of secondhand gear. And the actual lava itself looked cool.
Yep.
But the problem with lava is that it brings with it steam and smog and ash. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't lend itself to a very pleasing vista. So I felt it looked dirty.
Okay, interesting. I don't totally disagree with that. I thought, as you say, the lava looked really good. And a lot of it did look pretty cheap. Some of the green screen was pretty ordinary at times. So I don't necessarily disagree with you on that one. It probably looked the worst of the movies we've reviewed so far. But look, come on, it's not all about special effects. It's about character development and property arcs. And
so let's move on to the choice of leading man. Tommy. It turns out that gruff number 3 doesn't transfer to leading man.
Wow.
One of the more ridiculous leading men that I think we've seen on screen. I felt.
This is paining me.
And a weird, almost romance with Anne Heche.
Yes.
No.
Yep.
Like we are conditioned by Hollywood to almost believe that 28-year-old women might go for 48-year-old men. But 58-year-old men with 24-year-old...
Let me defend it. I did go and check this because it was creepy.
He just looks 20 years older than
yes, Tommy Lee Jones was 51, looking 71. Anne Heche was 28, looking 21.
Yeah.
So it's still creepy, but not quite as creepy as you've alleged.
But it was weird. And they almost knew it was weird, so they edged at it, but then backed away from it, and you just felt unsatisfied either way.
As if someone was saying, look, you have to have a love interest, and everyone's going, yeah, but look at the two of them, and where are we going to end with this? So no, I do agree with that one. That was a negative I noted down.
Some enormous cliches, like the daughter storyline from start to finish was just a cliche, and then it finishes on the dog cliche at the end of it.
Yep, I'll give you those as well.
Some unnecessary storylines. The one about the tension between the African-American guy and the cops just kind of hung out there. I don't know whether they were trying to appeal to a broader audience or...
Well, I agree with you that was bad. Like, those parts were not good. I would give it a slight defense in the context that you may recall this was, 1992 was the LA race riots after the Rodney King stuff. So whether this was designed actively to address that, or they just went, we've got this movie set in LA, we can't possibly not deal with it, I'm not sure.
I take it all back. It's actually a societal masterpiece. Okay,
exactly. We're talking deep, complex political commentary here.
I do have some okay stuff at the end, but I do need to also... The science just wasn't well done. It wasn't interesting. it should have been.
Mm-hmm.
Volcanoes are cool.
Yep.
They're super cool.
Yep.
You know, a volcano in the middle of city, you know, the boiling water thing. It should have been really interesting, but I didn't feel it was done well.
Yeah, I basically agree with that. I did think the particularly comical part, which I'd remembered laughing at the time, was when they're trying to work out the speed of the lava, and you basically look at distance divided by time, and yet she quickly programs an entire piece of software on her computer to work this figure out. It's like, right, it's going at 9 kilometers a second. But I'm pretty sure you didn't need a computer program to tell you that.
It was the 90s. Yeah. I'm getting to the end of my list. The support actors, with a couple of exceptions that I'll come to in the good parts, were pretty faceless. Like, it was a bit of an era thing. I was thinking Armageddon, Deep Impact, where you'd have a bunch of like semi-recognizable support actors that hopefully would be a bit funny or a bit endearing, and you'd care about them a bit.
Yeah.
I couldn't have picked most of the guys and girls in this out of a lineup.
Yeah, true. I mean, as you say, the cop part just didn't really work. I mean, the other big one was Stan, the guy who was running the train system, and he didn't do an awful lot, but he did have a glorious death scene, which I was going to come to as one of my positives.
That's in my positives.
Excellent.
Yes.
And then
in fact, I've referred to him as the Zodiac guy because, of course, if you've seen Zodiac, he's the suspected killer. He's like the creepiest looking dude.
I see.
That was it was a great death, possibly the only great death, but it was a great death.
Yep. Okay.
Two ideas. I thought that the double whammy ending with the fact that they thought they stopped it and then they worked out that it was going underground and was going to go under the hospital, that was clever.
Yep.
But it somehow wasn't maximised. Like they rushed it a bit or something or other. Dare we say it, because we love the 90-minute movie, but I almost feel that it was a clever moment when we went, it's not over. The lava's going to go somewhere else. Cool. And then they didn't really cash in on that, I thought.
Yeah, okay. All right. I might respectfully disagree with you on that one for some, when I get to my positives.
When you actually get a chance to
That's
get
right.
there. And my last one, it has to be mentioned. The whole occupational safety and health side of things, like, incredibly dated. like you're just going into all kinds of ridiculous situations. And scientifically, they all would have like burned up getting that close to the lava. Like, absolutely ridiculous. This concept that as long as you're not touching it, you're fine.
That's right.
This is just, I'm not a, volcanist.
Yes.
But I know that much.
Pretty sure that's right. Yeah,
so,
exactly.
That kind of stuff normally doesn't bother me, but so many of the scenes were specifically written such that they were right next to the lava.
Yep.
Like, just about every scene wouldn't actually work. So.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And similarly, even though it was a great scene, Stan dying when he jumps off the back of the train, the fact that he, if I recall correctly, he was still able to muster up the strength to throw the guy out of harm's way, despite being, I think, down to his waist in lava by that stage. I mean,
awesome.
I guess that's just how awesome he is.
Yeah. So what's the appropriate? Give me your riposte. What was good about Volcano?
Okay, I thought that I really liked the Tommy Lee Jones character, and there was something. This must be something that speaks to me about this type of character of the. How a lot of these disaster movies they don't necessarily focus on the people who are actually trying to fix a situation. They tend to focus on the everyman, the family who's been caught up in it, often because there is no fixing it. If it's like a massive earthquake, everyone just tries to survive and that's all they're really doing. Here, I really enjoyed the sense of responsibility that fell on the Tommy Lee Jones character's head by the fact that this was his problem, no one else's problem. He needed to deal with everything, dealing with all the stress and chaos around him, and leading me to my two favourite parts of the movie. The part where he forced his daughter to head off, despite the fact she was begging him to stay, and he chose his responsibility for the city over his daughter, despite her pleas for him to stay, which, of course, then led to the moment where he realised he'd actually sent her into harm's way at the hospital, which then the lava was headed towards. And then similarly, the part where I can't remember exactly where they were at. I think they just discovered that the lava was about to blow up in the hospital. They had a plan, but then suddenly they realised the angle was going in the wrong direction, and that moment where they're going, "What do we do? What do we do?" And he goes, "I don't know. I just don't know." I was like, no, Tommy, you can do it. You can work it out. Just that feeling of responsibility, and then that he felt like he'd failed everyone. Something about that really spoke to me, both at the time and again. And so I just loved the Tommy Lee Jones character for that reason. Someone who is just tasked with something that on the face of it is borderline impossible, and just a relatively normal guy, but coming through with flying colours in the face of ultimate opposition. I also, and I'd be interested to hear your views, so we haven't actually mentioned her at all yet, is the Anne Heche character.
I thought she was pretty good.
Okay, good, because I could imagine she could be divisive in a sense, but I really, really liked her. I thought she had the balance right of being completely smart, confident, knew what she was doing, but Hollywood, I think, often panics a bit with characters like that and makes them, with female characters like that, and makes them either inept at life, just straight out bitches. But no, she was smart, confident, and was a genuinely nice person who did her best the whole way through. And I like the fact that she had something important to say to Tommy. He was like, no, I just don't have time. I'm dealing with this immediate situation. She was perfectly fine with that. But similarly, Tommy was happy for her to go off and do her thing, which all came together later on. I just thought that all worked well. It does lead me to one of my negatives, which is that in the big finale, in fact, I thought the big finale was ridiculous. The part with the daughter is probably the worst part of the movie, where, I mean, the knocking down the building thing, genius. The fact that clearly what had happened is they've written this script and then they go, oh, no, wait, we can't just have him knock over the building and save the day. Something family related has to be involved. There has to be a personal thing somehow. And so problem one with that, poor Anne Heche, this specialist volcanologist who's been saving the day all day.
It's sent to find the daughter.
Exactly. Yep. What can I do? Find my daughter. It's like,
which she
really?
abjectly fails to do.
Yeah, exactly. Or she walks around screaming and then can't find her. And then, but just the scene at the end of it. And I remember struggling to understand that the physics of this at the time. Tommy Lee Jones sees her standing in the building, and this is the part I'm confused about. I'm not quite sure whether she was in the building that was falling over or the building opposite it. But either way, he screams for her. She doesn't hear it. He sprints over, picks her up, pulls her like 1.5 meters out of the way, and somehow that's enough to save her life in circumstances where she could have run about 100 meters in the time it took him to run across to save her. And yeah, like I said, did you understand which building she was in? Because I thought she was in the building that was being knocked down, but then implicitly she can't have been, because that wouldn't have made any sense.
Yeah, no, it didn't stand out in my mind enough to really care that much, I think.
I was drawing up spreadsheets and diagrams, trying to work this out.
Pythagoras' theorem is something rather. Yeah, I didn't think the ending was that cool. I didn't care about the daughter. I thought Anne Heche was pretty good. I pondered a bit on where her career went, because it was a strange career. You wonder if Hollywood wasn't quite ready for her or something or other. But she was, and I was wondering if she was going to be painful. But she wasn't. I thought she was pretty good. It did gloss over the fact she just about murdered her business partner and best friend. No, not quite, but relatively close to.
Yep.
I think she's emotionally scarred for the rest of her life as a direct result of that. But,
I thought so.
But no, I thought she was pretty good, which was why I cringed a little with the almost romance, because I'm like, that's just not there.
Yeah, and I mean, it was fun looking at IMDb. A real. In that 97, 98, she was in
loads of stuff.
Donnie Brasco, 6 Days, 7 Nights, obviously the highlight Volcano, and another one that's evaded my mind for the moment. But then I have to say, not an awful lot after that. I don't know whether there was personal issues or just Hollywood didn't embrace her. I'm not quite sure. But,
I think there was also a bit of that, because she was Ellen DeGeneres' girlfriend.
Of course.
And they broke up. And Ellen DeGeneres was pretty powerful in Hollywood, so I wonder whether there was no accusations against Ellen, but you wonder.
Don't sue us, Ellen, if you're listening to this. So let me try to find some more positives. Let's see, I did take some notes.
I'll pick up the one you mentioned, the death of the Zodiac guy. That was cool.
Yep.
I dug that. Yes, it was unrealistic, but it was it was an appropriate arc between he'd put his people in danger and he put his life on the line to save them. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and I thought Don Cheadle was good.
Cool. Yep.
And it was funny. I couldn't. Obviously now he's a big star in the Marvel movies, but I'd forgotten that I knew him very well at that stage, as he was a main character in Picket Fences that I was obsessed with at the time. So I think even Volcano possibly was his first big foray into cinema, and then never really went back. So yeah, he was very good. I'd forgotten he was in it until I saw it, and he was very charming.
I liked his work. Yep.
Yeah. I'd have to say that's all my positives.
That is all the positives I had to. Could not find anything else for you there.
But look, overall, quite apart from my love for Tommy Lee Jones, I thought it did the action pretty well. In a sense, it was difficult to make good action out of fundamentally a in quotes monster that just moves really slowly in one direction, and they obviously defied the laws of physics in quite a few ways in order to create excitement. So, like that scene where Tommy and Anne Heche get stuck inside the lava and have to sort of get up on the crane, and the crane has to pull them aside. Yeah, obviously you can never get yourself into that situation, but somehow they do. But I thought it was a good slow burn, and what I was going to say about how you were saying that sort of second part was a bit rushed, I quite liked that because I liked again, that same thing of everyone's celebrating, everyone's like, it's over, and then, poor Tommy Lee Jones is like, he gets 1 second to celebrate, and then, no, it's all still going. In fact, it's worse than we thought. Oh, and in fact, it's going to blow up the hospital where I've sent all these people. Again, the sense of impending doom that I thought hung over the whole movie, I thought I thought it was quite good.
Yeah, I'm not there with you. I just thought it was flat. I love the disaster movie. I love the 90s disaster movie. At the end of 90 minutes, I still went, I'm glad I watched it. But I wasn't like cheering, like, awesome, they should have more movies about snakes or bugs or monsters. I was like, yeah, that was pretty ordinary. Yeah.
I had a few specific negatives that we haven't already raised. One interesting thing, and like I said, I don't know if the movie was set in LA because of the whole Rodney King stuff, or if that was just coincidence, but it was very LA centric to such an extent that if you don't know the city very well, which I don't, I think a lot was lost. I vaguely recall from reading reviews that it's really fun to see all these LA-based things falling down and being blown up. Very little of that meant anything to me.
Yep.
And presumably didn't mean a lot to a lot of Americans even, who presumably aren't that familiar with LA. There was one particularly ridiculous part where the lava bomb was shooting up, and then and everyone's panicking, and Anne Heche, being the experienced expert volcanologist, goes, wait, and there's a, now jump, and she goes, you need to know where it's going to land before you move. That's that expertise she obviously learned in her volcanology school.
Harvard taught her that.
That's right. And I did love this is probably both a good and bad, but the evil capitalist guy, who was the husband of the doctor, who owned the big building, which obviously ultimately got knocked down. First of all, that classic thing of the ridiculousness of this intelligent, beautiful doctor being married to someone, or being in a relationship with someone who's just so obviously evil.
Yep.
But I particularly loved the line when he was harassing her at the hospital and going, "You've been here for hours, leave these people to be." And it's fun. And see, those of us who paid a lot of attention would know the entire movie took place over the space of about 2 hours. So this is like, you've been here for, 1/5 of a shift. Let's leave these people.
It was, of course, from Sex and the City, that guy.
Oh, okay, there you go.
I was very excited.
How would it have played now? How has it aged?
It would not get a cinema release now. it just not A grade enough. I think, just difficult to find a spark that would have, with so many movies being made now, so much content, how would that separate itself out?
Yeah, look, I mean, I certainly agree. If they released the movie as it was, it would be laughed out of the cinemas or out of the streaming service, as it were. Look, I think this is not quite the question I asked, but I think it's the sort of movie that, if released now with 2023 special effects, actually could potentially be quite cool, because I think they were noticeably limited in what they could achieve with presumably the budget they had. Although, having said that, no doubt they would have used CGI lava, and I'm not convinced that would look as good as the whatever it is they did to create the lava in this movie. So,
is it one of those problems though that, like, with modern day technology, they wouldn't have had the same situations? Like, there would have been more closed circuit TVs, and they would have known where the lava was.
Yeah.
There would have been, better maps and diagrams of where everything was. I don't know. But,
quite possibly.
Would have had to have been cleverer.
I think so. Actually, a mildly amusing story about Volcano, that I went to LA a couple of years after it was released, and because obviously it was such a masterpiece, I was very focused on it, and and this is of course before the days of handheld GPS and so on. And I was with my family, and we were on the way to the airport to go home, or at least to leave LA. And I'd been looking at the physical map, and I go, look, we're actually not going that far away from the Brea Tar Pits. I go, do you reckon we could stop by and, see where Volcano started? We can pretend to be Tommy Lee Jones and Heche. And my brother was all over it. He's like, yeah, bring it on. And my parents were like, oh, yeah, okay. And we got in a cab, and I said, oh, excuse me, I've just seen the La Brea Tar Pit seems to be kind of on the way to the airport. This guy he spoke perfect English. He was an American, had absolutely no idea what I was talking about. Had never heard of the La Brea Tar Pits.
What are they?
I think it's just like a park where for reasons that I don't understand, geological reasons, there is like bubbling oil and tar. I think it's like your natural springs that you get in New Zealand and so on, but for some reason it's tar rather than
How
water.
very LA fitting.
Yeah, indeed.
Yes, indeed.
All right, well, do we have anything else to say about Volcano? So it sounds like I haven't managed to convince you that it's a masterpiece I thought it was. And
will you watch it again?
Look, I'd be lying if I said yes. It would probably be a little while until I could build up the stamina again to give it another shot. But so look, no, I think it was. Like I said, I didn't think it was going to be a masterpiece. It was definitely not a masterpiece in the vein of, e.g., Anaconda. But look, I still liked it. I still think it was underrated. But look, clearly I'm in the minority here.
I believe that's accurate.
All right. Do we have anything else to say about Volcano, or should we move on?
Consign it to the fiery pits of
ho ho ho. Right. So what's our next movie?
All I've got to say to you is, get these people to daylight.
Oh, nice.
1996. Daylight.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. God, that's Sylvester Stallone, right?
That is correct.
Stuck in the the underground freeway system,
the tunnel.
Yeah.
On the way to New York City. As I understand, crossing to Manhattan, where I'm going quite soon. So
Nice.
Relatively topical. Sylvester Stallone, Amy Brenneman. Judging Amy Heat,
yep.
Amy Brenneman, Viggo Mortensen, pre-Lord of the Rings.
Wow.
And not a bunch of other recognisable people. A guy named Dan Hedaya that you'll recognise, but not too many others. Look, this is kind of reversed, as in I've often heard Tim say that this was an absolute diabolical ruin of a movie.
Yes.
Well, I am in no way saying it was a good movie, but I recall it being good, it being, guilty pleasure. Yeah. Guilty pleasure. It could be in the so bad it's good category. Because Stallone was kind of in the middle of like a semi-cheese career revival.
Yep.
There was a bit of Cliffhanger, there was a bit of The Specialist, there was a couple of other things. And he thought he could make anything. He was, and he made like some movies like this. And I have a feeling he will be so wooden. It will be difficult to comprehend. The opposite of the Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah.
He's ridiculous looking and is an absolutely ridiculous hero figure
Yep.
that makes ridiculous decisions and gets ridiculous outcomes. So,
Yeah, 'cause-
looking forward to that.
Yeah, because I remember it being a big deal at the time. I think Stallone was huge at the time, and yeah, this was a big budget, big movie, and I think you're right that I hated it at the time.
I think you did.
Yeah, I mean, I have certainly.
I suspect with good reason.
Yeah, I have definitely not gone back and rewatched it, so my memory of it is relatively poor. But I do recall probably going in with high expectations and walking out thinking it was a disaster.
I think generally considered as such. I don't believe I've seen it for 25 years. I may have put it on a video store or something after initially watching it, but I'm not sure I sat down and watched it from start to finish. Didn't see it at the cinema. Pretty sure I watched it on, would have been VCR, I suspect. I don't think I saw it at the cinema.
Yeah, I feel like maybe I did, but that seems unlikely because I didn't see any movies other than with you.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Director Rob Cohen, very well-known name, but looking at all the things Rob Cohen has done, they're mostly garbage.
Right.
So
Obviously not related to the Coen brothers.
No, definitely a different Cohen.
Yes.
It started well with Dragonheart, an underrated movie in my opinion, but then gave us The Skulls with Joshua Jackson.
Yes.
Gave us the first Fast and the Furious,
Okay.
which is a bit of a feather in the cap, I suppose, in a certain way. Triple X, never even bothered to watch that. Stealth, that was diabolical garbage. The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, I think generally regarded as garbage.
Wait, that's not the first Mummy movie?
The one with Jet Li, the third or fourth one.
Okay.
And that movie called Alex Cross, which I never watched, but with Tyler Perry, but just gets referenced in Empire all the time as being garbage, basically.
Okay.
So I don't take great confidence from that, to be perfectly honest. Amy Brenneman pre-judging Amy. Don't know whether it was pre or post Heat, but I remember thinking she was a complete genius.
Yep.
So looking forward to that. Wonder whether she'll be given anything to do, or whether it will be, it'll be the worst of the, is the difference between 96 and even 97, 98. This is pre-Buffy.
Yeah.
It's even more cardboard cutout era.
Yep.
So I'm approaching with trepidation, but I'm going to take on the challenge.
Yeah, because it's the sort of movie that I absolutely love. I just love the concept of the single set type movie, the claustrophobia. I remember thinking, this sounds awesome. I can't think of a possible way this can be bad. And hence the disappointment. But funnily enough, I am prepared to watch it with an open mind, and it wouldn't totally blow my mind if I actually thought it was all right.
Well, I don't remember how it ends. I remember a couple of elements near the beginning, but I have no memory of the last hour. I'm confident there'll be cliches, but I don't know how they get out. Do they get out? Maybe Sly dies a fiery death.
Maybe.
Fancy, probably not. But nonetheless, I can't rule it out. So it will feel like a new experience. It could be a new painful experience all over again.
Indeed. No, I'm very excited. Good choice.
Dental surgery for the second time. So.
Oh, that sounds good. All right. I'm keen to rewatch, and we'll be back shortly to report back.
Bring it on.